is another sort of video tutorial on using the QC app. I'll just show you what we see when you launch the app. See that I'm talking about QC version 0.6. So this is a place over here that can let you select a theme. The default theme that I have is fine, so I'm moving that out of the way. As always, you can see instructions by clicking on this thing, and one of the new features is that there are now keyboard shortcuts, which I'm going to show you throughout this video. So I'm going to load up our old friend Glider 21, mission 51, and I'm loading you can see down here, I'm loading an RDA from a previous analysis. All I did before was to read in the data and save them immediately. Launching this from the RDA simply saves 2 minutes or something reading these 1,000 or so files. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So we have, there are a few new plot types here, and notice that this plot type, pressure is a function of time, which is the default. We've seen this before. It has a less than P greater than. And what that means is that I can do a keyboard press of the letter P or lower uppercase, and it will switch to the plot. And if I just show you on this, you can see that I can get a TS plot by typing T. I can get a salinity plot by typing S. These are the only 3 controls. There are lots of different plot types, but I just didn't want to have multi-character controls. The other is that you can change the mission, the focus from mission to yo by pressing M and Y. Why would I do this? Because I really don't like I'm on a laptop right now, and I really don't like scrolling back and forth to see these all these different menu items. The most important ones for work are down here. So the first thing that's really different to previous, you can see some little spam coming in there, comes every couple minutes, whatever that is, Daytona Beach newsletter or something stupid. Over here, there used to be a thing for removing pressure outliers, and now it just says remove T and S outliers. Frankly, the only thing that ever has outliers is salinity. And these are resulting from 2 things. One is problems, I think, of stuff getting into the conductivity cell. I always blame jellyfish, but I don't know what it is. And the other is a kind of a weird thing that can happen in this mission in particular, which was sampling pretty quickly, and it seems like the logging computer couldn't keep up. And what happens is that it misses the data point, and then whatever should be pressure turns into conductivity. So the conductivity, instead of being like between 0 and 3 or so, it ends up being like 500 or something crazy. Anyway, clicking to hide the S and T outliers also removes pressure outliers, because at the moment what we're doing is we're just not displaying any of the data when some of the data are wrong. So this looks much more sensible. This is a mission. This is color-coded by distance from the initial yo, and this is a mission which went more or less southward on Scotian Shelf, going through some deeper water and then some shallower. And at the spot right here with the deep red, it turned around and came back north. This much you've seen before. Now there's, okay, so I'm going to type F. No, I'm going to type T to get a temperature salinity graph. And you could use the menu for that. I'm just going to be typing T. So let's see, there's a new plot type, color by type, I guess I should call it. And this is very useful, I think, and it's called N2 Extremes. I'm just going to select that. What you see here is the entire data set, all of it, including the outliers that it should be hidden. So this is not really being obeyed, and I might fix that, I'm not sure. So the entire data set. I want to show that so you can, for context. And now what's being shown here is that if n squared is anomalously high positive, you get green. And the mouse is down by some green here. And as usual, just above the plot, you can see the yo. This is yo 307. You could remember that for later, but I'm going to show you a trick so you don't have to remember it. Okay, and that's one thing that can happen. And over here, what we have is some data which are going away from the main cloud, and what you see is on one sort of arm of the going away, we have, this is red means aphysical. This is high negative n squared. In other words, it's gravitationally unstable, and here is high gravitationally stable. This is actually just this spurious increase and then decrease of salinity for one of the particular yos. So we see a couple of those. There's one here, and you'll see those in more detail later. But the other thing I want you to notice is all these red dots along the left-hand side, in other words, low salinity. This is a mission in which, if you followed the previous tutorials, in which the CTD was turned off and on to save power, and there's a problem with the CTD when it turns on because it averages it or the software or whatever. It averages in previous data, and the previous data were from the yo at the surface. That was the configuration that was being employed here, that it was near the surface, made some measurements, turned off the CTD, descended to waters which in this place are salty compared to the fresher waters at the top. So it descended, turned on the CTD, and it kind of averages in these previous values at the surface. So these are then giving spurious low salinity waters in the deep, which is gravitationally unstable. What can you do about that? You can slide this hide after power on button over, and I allow it to go up to, this is in seconds, I allow it to go up to 2 minutes or 120 seconds. But anyway, I just randomly picked 34 here. And you can see that those, all that cloud of negative n squared, these are all removed by doing that. Just to show you again, I'll bring it back down to 0. And you'll see the plot will update with a bunch of red stuff. And I'm going to use the word red garbage. I just think these data are not useful to even think about. Yeah, and I suppose what, in a sort of systematic tool chain, you might mess around with this hide after power on button. I mean, the data are kind of valuable, but that's 32 seconds. Just bang the arrow twice and we get now to 30 seconds. You know, it's not appreciably different. Maybe you need to, maybe you want that extra second. Yeah, I don't know. So that's one thing. Now, there's another new feature, which is it used to be that, and you still can, double click on a yo. If I were to double click at the moment, this yo 820 would be saved in a, I guess I'll call it a buffer, such that the next time I went from mission view, which this is, to yo view, it would look at yo 820. Very convenient, but I also made I don't like the mouse, so I made a keyboard thing. And if you type C at this moment, which I just typed, you'll see that it says selected yo is 820. So this is saved in a buffer. And now I could either go up to this place here and click on this, or I could just type Y to get a yo view. So I'm typing Y now. Now we're just looking at the yo, but we're seeing all the data because in this view it shows all of the data. So I want to change this to, let's see, salinity as a function of time. And the way I can get that is by typing S or using the menu thing, which I just didn't show you. And I want to go from these extremes to maybe I'll color code by pressure. Doesn't really matter. And you can see we have these spurious high salinities about which I was just speaking. I'm going to brush over them, make them go away. Okay, here's where the keyboard commands are helpful. I'm typing M for mission. We're going to get back the whole mission, and the graph type is still this salinity as a function of time. Now I'll type T for temperature salinity, which honestly is my preferred way of finding wild points because the covariation can be pretty helpful. Moving the mouse down here, you see that the yo 711 is funky in that same way. So I'm pressing C to copy it into the buffer. And you notice that at the end of the status line above the plot, it says selected yo 711, Y for yo. Excuse me. Maybe I'll stay in this view. I'm not proud. There we are, we're in the temperature salinity view, and I just got rid of that. M for mission. I think you can see that this is reasonably quick. There's another one that's pretty close to that. That's 364, so we'll type C to save it. Y for yo. Funky data eliminated. M for mission. Clean those up. Let's see, let's go over to this guy, copy, and then Y for yo. Let's see if we can see what's going on with that. You know, these are kind of crazy salinities, honestly. But I'm going to do S for salinity as a function of time. I just find it's more helpful. So you can see here this is the ascending phase, and this is the near surface phase. Honestly, I don't know what to do about this. There are a bunch of crazy data. This is not an averaging thing. I suspect there's just, it's sort of like the conductivity sensor is like gagging on air. I guess we gag on water, but now you could remove just the ones that are clearly insane, I guess. You could do that. I don't know, that would be fine. These are also pretty noisy, and depending on what you think about the science and the technology, you might want to just remove all of these because they're noisy. I don't really care that much. So I'll go back to mission view, and we should have cleaned up. Oh, and I type T for temperature salinity, and we should have, yeah, we cleaned that up a little bit. This is yo. Go to this guy. This is yo number 1. The first yo is often bad, and it's been hypothesized that what's happening is that it might be going through bubbles caused by the ship or boat that deployed it. And so I'm just going to change this to hide the first initial yo. I almost always find that it's bad. And for a while, this default was 1, but just it isn't now. So it looks like we have just a couple of bad guys. So 233, I'll type C to copy it. Just wait a second to see it update. It did. Type yo to get the yo view. Type S to get salinity as a function of time view. Did I type that? Salinity as a function of time. Did I type it? I don't know. All the letters on my keyboard are burned off because it's an old keyboard. I don't know, maybe I was typing A or something. I don't really know. So remove those few points. Now we're going to go to temperature salinity, which again I don't find very helpful in the yo view. And then I'll type M to get to the mission view. Let's see, what do we have here? Oh, that's interesting. I need to fix this. So that hide initial yos, it forgot its value for some reason. I think I have one more. It looks like 281 is a bit funny, so I'll type C to copy that, and I'll type yo to go into the yo view. Just on announcement, New York Times, something I read on the New York Times. Then I'll type F, which just works for the, I think something got happened, but anyway, the E key doesn't work on this button on this keyboard, so maybe the S key doesn't work anymore either. I have to check that, I guess. Anyone who likes this video should send me money for a new laptop. That's what I figure. So now I'll do key, the key that always works for me, and then M for mission. And again, I'm just going to remove that guy. I'll fix that. I won't make a new version to fix that. Well, I think things are basically looking pretty clean. Maybe this looks a little funny, and just for final, we'll look at that 804. So C to copy it, Y to look at it, the temperature salinity. I'll clean it even here. And then M for mission. This looks pretty clean to me, so it'd probably be useful to look at this one in some detail and perhaps look at these as well. But I feel that we're getting to the point where this is quite useful. Just for fun, I'm going to show you a few of the other plot types that we have. One will be, I'm going to show you, let me just think here. I'm going to show you pressure, but I'm going to color code by spiciness, which means something to me and maybe to some of you. I don't really know. It's kind of a measure of whether it's salty and warm or cold and fresh. This is of interest to me because when there are contrasts, horizontal or long isopycnal contrasts of spiciness, then you can get cross-frontal intrusions, which I kind of like, and it's the reason why I'm looking at these data. So I'll save these data. Takes quite a while to save the data, actually. And it's doing compression. The RDA format is doing some compression, so you have to think about that. So there we are. So what I've shown you in this video is about some of the new keypress commands, and I apologize that the S on my keyboard doesn't seem to be working reliably. Just the workflow. So I think that the workflow using these key presses is very handy because you can sort of enlarge your browser and look at the plot and not have to keep scrolling to see menus, even on a laptop, which tends not to have a very tall screen. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.